a technical talk. So let me just begin by thanking the organizers of this program. And what I have been asked to talk about or deliberate about is how STEM education allows us to bridge gender disparity. Rather than getting into basically this precise topic, I would delve more on first understanding what is gender disparity, and and then we'll come up with some whatever initiatives the government has been taking, or how the scenario looks like now, and how STEM education. I'll connect the things later on in the last part of the talk. But most of this will be basically focusing on understanding and appreciating that there is a gender disparity, primarily in disciplines which are uh, science, and within sciences also there are certain disciplines where the disparity is not so much, but there are certain disciplines which reflect this disparity much more. So I come from physics, and in physics it is really harsh reality that if we talk about, of course, gender doesn't nowadays, when we talk about gender, we should not talk about, it's not a binary thing. It means people of all kinds of gender. But what I would mostly focus on is when I use the term gender, I would mostly focus on women in science. So let us understand what is this, the gender disparity in science. And even after the talk, if you are interested, here is my email, pm@jnu.ac.in. Please feel free to write to me if you are interested in some further exchanges. Okay, so we are basically in our world, in different disciplines. If we look around, for example, in our institution in JNU, we have disciplines which are uh, 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 more prominent disciplines are social sciences and languages and so on. And there you see quite a large fraction of females in terms of both students and faculty members and people in the leadership positions as well. However, when we talk about sciences here in our institution, that is somewhat like a minority. And in sciences, this is much more worse when we talk about pure sciences, and in that also physics and mathematics, and even chemistry to some extent. There is a bad gender disbalance. So as is this famous quote, achieving gender equality requires engagement of women, men, girls, and boys. So it is not just that it's a problem of the females to fix this. It is actually a problem of the full society as a whole. So all of us should first understand, appreciate, and then only one can strive to achieve gender equality. Uh, okay, so the overview of my lecture would be as follows. And in between, if anybody would like to point out something or interrupt me, please feel free to do so. Please raise your hand, and I should hopefully be able to see, or the moderator can see that and let me know. Okay. So what I'm uh, going to focus on, what is this gender, the issue of gender imbalance in STEM related disciplines. And it's important to first understand, and understanding the situation comes through data, factual data. It is not something that one is cooking up. So the factual data, there is a survey on higher education, and that survey points to some realities which are pretty grim. uh, the problem of this underrepresentation of women in profession, scientific profession, is more or less universal. It is not place dependent. It is not state, in this state it is more, or in that state it is less, and so on. It is in general a universal problem. There might be small deviations or small changes in the character of the problem, but otherwise it's more or less universal. uh, the understanding and approach, one can have some similarities depending on regional and regional emphasis, or one can even think about differences in manifestation of the problem. And one needs a discussion, and mainstreaming of gender in science is now not questioned. And there are certain proactive steps that there are certain bodies in the community, especially the physics has a Indian Physics Association, and there is a gender in physics working group, and that gender in physics working group primarily works towards this mitigating and get trying to achieve better gender balance. And it's a body that tries to promote that and tries to actually get into the causes, and there are discipline wise subcommittees and so on and so forth. And that is at an informal scientific community level, but there are also government policies which aid, and that body actually gives suggestions to the government, and government policies are then drafted, and so on and so forth, and things are implemented. And as at the level of individuals, what is it that one can do to make the situation somewhat better? Okay. So, what is the scenario in pure sciences? The presence of women students, as we all know, in schools and colleges is very high. You know, so if I even look at my master's class, in fact, there are more number of female students than male, and this is true for more or less all universities, all systems. So female students are there up to the master's level, but there is a leakage after that, slow and steady leakage, and then as it goes to higher and higher level, it gets worse and worse. However, participation of women in research in science is pretty low, and presence in high positions in academics is much lower. In fact, even participation is there, minuscule, but his presence in high positions is pretty low. And there are very serious leakages in the pipeline from college to university to scientific careers. And one would like to address how we can remedy this. So if we now want to understand what is a, precise gender gap, or what is the fraction of women among PhDs which who are employed. So this is like talking about females who have completed their PhD and are employed in India. That fraction is very bad. You know, all the female students who have achieved, who have obtained their PhD, out of that we are losing out 80%. Only 20% is what that number makes it to the positions in higher education in India. That's already very skewed. But in elite institution, leadership position, in honors list, the fraction plummets much further. If you look at Nobel Prizes also, you will see the same story. If you look at our Bhatnagar Prize, Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prizes, which is a prestigious prize in the country, the situation is pretty similar. So, what is it? Are there not enough women who are competent enough, or is there a bias, or what is it that is causing this? So, one needs, so as one would like to put it, equality one can achieve, but one has to take into account that so suppose one section of the society has not been granted certain facilities, certain flexibility, certain freedoms, and then suddenly we are saying we are talking about equality. Equality can only come with equity. So one has to fold in different factors and so on to achieve equality. In physics, the gender gap is the largest probably in among the scientific disciplines, which points to saying that physics is a highly gendered subject in its practice, despite one would like to profess that it is something which is an objective science. Okay, so if we want to go back to the Indian context, India always valued participation of women in science and education, and there were some names such as Leelavati, Gargi, and Khanna, who held significant positions in mathematics, nature science, and astronomy in the ancient times. So, uh, in ancient times, we have heard about these names. Of course, these names also have been lost, but now there are conscious efforts uh, to talk about contributions of these mm, these people. And in late 70s, a separate chapter on women and development was introduced. So earlier there used to be these 5-year plans, and in that one of those 5-year plan, a chapter on women development was introduced. And later on, one can say that today women account for less than 30% of the researchers worldwide, and there are only 16% of women in science research. This is from the present secretary of the SCRB. Okay, so if we look at prestigious awards, again the number is pretty bad. Out of 542 Bhatnagar awardees since 1958, only 18 have been awarded this award. 18 females only. And if we talk about academy fellowships, etc., Indian Academy of Science, Third World Academy of Science, or INSA, Indian National Science Academy, um, there have been similar uh, poor representation of uh, females. So only where this was very recent, that in 85 year of existence of the INSA, Indian National Science Academy, it was decided that it would be led by biologist Chandrima Shaha. But this took so long to recognize that uh, having a president who is a female, and able president who is a female, this took so many years uh, uh, of time. Similarly, one can also see that, Dr. Renu Swarup, we can think about, she is a PhD in genetics and plant breeding. She has also been involved in programs and activities related to women in science, and she was responsible for implementing the DBT scheme on biotechnology career advancement for women, and BioCare, which is goes by the name BioCare. And she was also the member of Task Force for Women in Science, constituted by Scientific Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister. So she was the DBT secretary, and she was also holding the additional charge of DST secretary. If we come to now, present times, we know that, I mean, the situation is changing. I would say now one can think of many more names, and one of the names, important names that comes, is Dr. Kalai Selvi, who is the Director General of CSIR. Again, um, this took many years to have her on that position, have a female on that position. Currently, we also can think of directors. It's not so uncommon, and it's not a rarity. We see that there are female figures who are acting as, so our Vice Chancellor, Professor Shanti Shri Pandit, uh, uh, Professor Tanushri, and Professor Annapurni, Subramaniam Annapurni. They are serving as directors of Bose Institute and the Indian Institute of Astrophysics. So situation is slowly, at least in the Indian context, slowly changing, but it has to go much more than this. Situation is not as grim as 2 years back, or whatever, 2.5, 3 years back. Then I could not have put this slide in this discussion. Okay, if we look at Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar women awardees, only 18 out of 542, I mentioned that. And this is all disciplines put together. In this, I would like to point out that in 2018, it was the first female who got this award in physical sciences category. So physics, there was always there was no it was thought to be a territory governed by only male scientists. And we see some names here. There are large, but these are the handful number of names that one can actually pick from this full complete list of 542. Now the number has gone up. This is slightly outdated. Okay, so if we look at the survey on higher education, this is basically, earlier it was called the Ministry of Human Resource Development. Now it is the Ministry of Education. So there was this All India survey that was carried out, and this is their website. There they are under different categories, under different levels, they actually did a proper survey in the year 2018 and 19, and it was found again that similar disparities were found in discipline wise, and then male female ratio, college, university, and other institutions, and so on, and polytechniques, nursing institutions, and so on and so forth. So, one second. Are you able to see my slides?
No, ma'am.
No.
It just vanished, right?
Yes.
I'll just share it again. One moment. Did something.
Ma'am, there is a question for you
Yes, please.
from Rajkumar Soni, sir.
Mhm.
He's asking why this disparity is there. We should discuss about it.
Why this disparity is there? That's precisely what we are trying to discuss. So I'm just giving you first the numbers, and then we'll come to the discussions, and what are the factors that go in, and what are the things that one can actually uh, to answer the question very briefly. What I can say is that there are several factors. One of the factors is that for females, by the time they are in the position to get a job after doing their PhD and the postdoc and so on, which many competitive places require, they are already in the age bracket which is very critical for childbearing, for getting married, and so on and so forth. And just that this overlap of this age with that critical time period, one ends up giving up and not trying hard enough, and losing out on being there. There are certain schemes that have been implemented which allow for comeback of females after the child break or whatever, but those schemes are there, but they are like short term schemes. So when again it comes to talking about getting a job, it becomes difficult because one has lost certain number of years in the prime time of their career. So this is one of the reasons, but there are many other factors that play a role. And after presenting the numbers, etc., we'll come to these points, and we'll discuss them in more detail. Does it answer your question partly?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll come back to this as we proceed further, but this is a brief answer to your question. Okay. Now, is it visible?
No.
It's
No,
not.
ma'am.
No.
No,
No.
ma'am.
Okay. What happened? I tried sharing again. Can't share. Sorry, an error. Okay, one second. Let me try once more. Now? Now something is coming. The background.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay.
We can
Yes,
see that.
yes. It is.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah. So we were talking. So this is. I mean, we don't need to really go deep and deep to understand what are these numbers, but this is a reflection of if you look at professors and equivalent or lecturers or assistant professors, you see that large number. So it's like a pyramid, at positions which are higher, you see much less fraction. So it is not only that people cannot come in, but somewhere the system is such or skewed that there is a certain element of bias, or the data suggests something that this is a fact. Now, in order to understand this fact, there can be various factors. There can be bias, there can be dominance of the other gender, there can be systematic practices which try to keep people at lower levels and not promote them in the right time. So I have, at least in my experience, many times what I have noticed is that uh, if there are two people, A and B, one is a female, one is a male, the system promotes the male, giving various skewed reasons that this person has to earn bread for the family, so he should better get better salary in right time, and so on and so forth, whereas a female, nobody cares. If with similar competencies, with similar CVs, with similar skills, with similar number of students guided, and all other factors being similar, I have seen that most of the times it's the female colleagues who have actually not got, and this exists very much. It's very much prevalent in our systems. So I can tell you this. So this is what happens. So one can say there are various reasons, or one can say that, oh, this person, but there are also factors that in order to let that happen, there is a certain amount of bias, and then there is a certain amount of what should I say, um, academic world is also impression based, so things are created such that, you put one on top of the other, and it's mostly the males, not the females. Rarely it would have happened that there are two people of similar level and who joined on the same date, and the female has been promoted and the male has not been promoted. Very rare. I have not seen any case like that. No, that is what, between two males it might have happened, but between a female and a male, a female getting promotion in the right amount of time. This also boils down to asking the question that, when the pay parity, a female and male for doing the same kind of job get the same amount of package. Of course, in our world, we get similar salary, but the promotion being delayed amounts to uh, a person's suffering, right? Okay. And delay in career, so it leads to loss in enthusiasm, and it delays somehow your progress. So this is one thing. It's like a pyramid. Higher you go, you find fewer and fewer and fewer people. At the level of positions, you find very very few. Now we see some names, as I pointed out, but it used to be, or it is still, we have to go a long way, I would say. It is slightly better, but we have to still go a long way. If you look at point-wise gender distribution, again here also it's showing the same thing. If you look at tutor level or a temporary teacher, you have larger number, whereas if you look at uh, actual positions, you see smaller and smaller numbers, and so on. Um, this is a chart which shows number of female teachers per 100 male teachers. Again, it points to similar statistics. Again, here enrollment in different types of institutions. If you look at central universities, open universities, state universities, and institutes or institute of national importance, it is pretty bad. There, of course, one should not distinguish, because national institutes of national importance do not even have this reservation roster. They say that we will take anybody who is competent, and so they do not distinguish on the gender, on caste, or other factors. I mean, that is another angle I'm just plugging in, but that is true. There, if you go back and look at the data, you will see very few people from other castes and very few people from female part of the gender, or even other genders. It's very rare to find somebody, so it's pretty bad. But at certain number of institutions, if you look at state university and even the central universities, it is better than institutes, but again the numbers are not so uh, great. Again, this is another chart which shows percentage distribution and enrollment in male female numbers. Enrollment at the level of students is high. Even now it is reasonable, but it is so here it is showing again female per 100 male students in university and constituent units. So they are roughly similar, but there are some fluctuations. So some key pointers: share of female students is lowest in institutions of national importance. I have mentioned that. There has also been considerable. Okay, one second. Are you able to see my screen? Again, something happened.
No, ma'am, we are
Coming,
able
ma'am.
to see it.
You are able to see it?
Yeah.
No.
Not now.
It vanished. I don't know what happened suddenly again. 1 minute. Sorry about this. Okay. Now?
Coming,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So here again, one is saying that share of female students is lowest in institutes of national importance, and there has been uh, in uh, uh, in terms of teachers, it is 42%, bachelor's level 53, masters 55, and so on and so forth. So now coming to, okay, data reflects at certain uh, glaring instances, which basically say that, you know, we are training so many people who are almost the same number at the level as the other gender, the male gender. However, in research domains or in teaching professions, teaching at college level is not so bad actually. There you will find large number of female colleagues, uh, almost similar or reasonable number of female colleagues. It's when it comes to research positions or universities, or which are jobs that are very demanding, and if you're really pushy with your career, then the number is really small. So what are the initiatives that there are these science academies in the country? They are bodies which are basically comprising of eminent scientists. And what is it? What are the initiatives that these academies have been taking over the years? So, in some planned project, it was introduced that one should talk about.
Ma'am, sorry for interruption.
Please, yeah,
Yes, there is again a question for you
yeah.
from Dr. Manish. AISHE 2021 report has been released, and what 2021 data says about the teaching positions?
I think it is similar. I have not had a chance to look at it, but it would be somewhat similar. I don't think situation would have drastically changed from 1819 to 21.
Thank you, ma'am.
So coming back to the academy initiatives, so a panel for women in science was introduced. So in order to examine and study the current status with regard to women in science in the Indian context, the factors influencing the science career of Indian women, and to suggest recommendations, the Council of Indian Academy of Sciences had constituted in 2003. Actually, this was way before this survey. They had already recognized that there is a problem like this, and constituted a committee which was called Women in Science. And this committee came up with many suggestions and initiatives, an action plan for consideration for by the council and fellowship. This led to the formation of panel for women in science in 2005, and this was basically to carry out recommendations and to suggest measures for obtaining solutions. So this is again outdated. It was in 2021 that the panel was chaired by Professor Vishweshwarya Varaya. The panel had undertaken several initiatives to fulfill the objectives, and there was this INSA came up with this report, which was edited by Bamji and Rohini Godbole and Vinita Bal. It was basically an examination of Indian women's access to and retention in scientific careers. So this is a nice piece of report which you can actually look up. Women in Science and NIAS also came up with a research report again by these authors. Trained scientific women power, how much are we losing and why? So this was between NIAS in Bangalore and Indian Academy of Sciences again in Bangalore. So there was this write-up that came out. Another initiative which was interesting that came up was writing down success stories of all female scientists. So about their lives and about their science and everything put together. It was mainly a success story of each of these authors, and it was titled Lilavati's Daughters. So this was basically how did their careers take up. So those stories tell something about how how much struggle they did and what is it that they pushed, that how much did they push, or how did they manage to be there in the discipline. So this compiled a collection of essays on the lives of Indian women scientists in the form of a book called Lilavati's Daughters, which was basically the women scientists of India. The book had brief biographical and autobiographical sketches of about 100 women scientists from India. And this is now translated to different languages because it is important to take these messages uh, to, to, to the society and to people who just cannot also access English. So it was translated in Malayalam, and A Girl's Guide to Life in Science. This latest publication results from an initiative of Women in Science panel. Again, it was released in the annual meeting of the Academy somewhere. So this is how the page of the Lilavati's Daughters, the book looks like. It is a 12th century treatise. Lilavati refers to a 12th century treatise in which mathematician Bhaskaracharya addresses a number of problems to his daughter Lilavati. Although legend has it that Lilavati never married, her intellectual legacy lives in the form of her daughters, the women scientists of India. And that's why the book was titled this way. So this is a very nice read. I would recommend that you can grab a copy of this, and it is very nice to go through the biographical and autobiographical sketches. The other initiatives that have so recent times, there have been several things that have been started because science, it's when we want to solve a problem in the society, be it sustainability issues, be it solving some other issue, it is also important to sense or see how we perceive the problem, how the society as a whole perceives the problem, whether they actually agree, is it a problem at all. First step to finding a solution to a problem is to first accept and agree that yes, the problem is there. So this is so there have been several steps that have been taken. One of the efforts that has started during the COVID time, in fact, was Vigyan Vidushi, which was a peculiar and unique kind of summer school only for women students. Okay, some people also debate with that why should we only target women audience, and because it is a problem of all genders, and it is more important to even to make male counterparts understand that there is a accept that there is a problem. But this is also a very useful exercise in the sense that this not only provides them exposure to physics topics and research opportunities, but they are also given some kind of counseling and mentoring by, or telling them success stories by people who are successful, eminent women scientists who can be their role models. So this is basically encouraging them that no, it is normal to have a career in science, giving them example stories and also teaching them science at the cutting edge. So this is that effort, and it is going on every year. Indian Physics Association is also spearheading the effort to address these issues. And IPA basically formed a working group on gender in physics in 2017 with the mandate of coordinating national efforts towards gender parity in the Indian physics profession. The working group is intended to collate information on the status of gender parity in the Indian physics profession, facilitate deliberations on the issue, and come up with recommendations from time to time to address the gender disparity in physics, and network with IUPAP and so on and so forth. So this is basically led by Professor Vandana Nanal and Professor Prajwal Shastri. Currently, I think the Gender in Physics Working Group is being headed by Professor Shubhavati Goswami, who is at PRL. Uh, pre- Then there was a very unique kind of conference that took place in 2019 that was basically in University of Hyderabad, and it was to discuss gender gap in physics. And they basically, the idea was to get all female practitioners there, but there were also good fraction of male colleagues who came, who are interested in discussing about this and trying to find solution towards this. So addressing gender violation in parity violation in gender. So physicists from all over the country came, presented their research, and there was this meeting had physicists, educationists, social scientists, and diversity experts, because to certain things that happen in our with our colleagues or within our setup, we take it for granted and we take it for default that okay, I mean there is no, but many things that happen on a daily basis have connotations which are not correct, and to appreciate that, these diversity experts and social scientists played a very important role. There were very interesting workshops where they conducted they made us understand that we have to understand where the problem is. So to appreciate certain things we just take for granted, because that's how we have grown up. So this was quite exhaustive and innovative style of discussion, and there were process based workshops which were designed to build capabilities to understand the gender inequity. So this was the poster of that conference, and it was a very unique and interesting effort. Now I come to what is it. So having said that, there is effort to make everybody understand that there is this problem. There the data suggests, and there are efforts, and then there are discussion groups formed who try to analyze, understand, and propose solutions to the government. But unless the government acts in a favorable manner, these things cannot be implemented at a. So now there are several initiatives. More than what I'm going to tell you, there are several initiatives which have made atmosphere gender enabling and so on and so forth in institution, and like owing to low representation of women in science and technology, in planning and policy making. There was a standing committee that was formed in 2016, again to identify and correct any imbalances that persist and so on, and which hinder the growth of women. Make endeavors for creating gender enabling environment in science and technology institutions, recommend special measures to ensure growth of women in science, recommend programs designed specifically for fostering, utilizing, and supporting women in science, and monitor periodically the implementation of the. So monitoring is also part of this mandate of the standing committee. Then there was DST had a restructuring, and all women programs were put down under one umbrella called Kiran, knowledge involvement in research advancement through nurturing. This addresses issues related to women scientists, relocation, unemployment, etc., and aim to provide opportunities in research, technology development, and self-employment. It is also actively involved to take proactive measures under the consolidation of university research for innovation and excellence in women universities. Then there is something called Women Scientist Scheme, and DST launched this in 2002-3, and this is meant for people who have age gap, who are in the age bracket of 27 to all the way up to 57 years, who had break in their career but desired to return to the mainstream. So this is their different schemes: A, B, and C. Research in basic and applied sciences, societal benefit interventions for societal benefit, and internship in IPRs for self-employment, and so on. and reasonable remuneration and all were provided depending on the qualifications and so on. So these schemes have been there, and they have been many people have been benefited by these schemes. However, there is if I ask what is the success rate, so this provides an option after a break in the career for some female to come back and do research. Fine, but after having done so, even after successfully utilizing this option or this opportunity, how many of the females could make it to a permanent job? That is something which is uh, not very, what should I say? Um, the answer is very bad, basically. So this is the challenge. So schemes are there, everything is there, but then the mindset is such that people do not. Uh, it is if somebody gets a women in science scheme, it is being treated as a separate scheme, and uh, oh, because she competed only with females and that's how she got this, and so on. These kind of impressionistic statements are being made. SCRB Women Excellence Award was launched below 40 years of age. So this gave a research grant for a period of 3 years and so on. So this was also something nice. This is something, another thing that SCRB had started, promoting opportunities for women in exploratory research. So it's called Power. There is a research grant and there is also a Power Fellow. So these things are in operation. DBT BioCare program, again similar in nature, for biotechnology. Indo-US Fellowship for Women in STEM, again IUSSTF is the Indo-US Technology, Science and Technology Forum, and they also had something for women in STEM, and it is for Indian women students as well as scientists to visit US labs and do collaborative studies. Again, there is another program called Vigyan Jyoti, again, which means getting people from remote rural areas and giving them ideas about how they can go from school to college and thereafter uh, from research to a job of their choice in the field of science and so on. So, a scholarship is also given to those selected students. And the government also, in order to recognize that Indian women scientists in the past, uh, the some chaired positions were established. So 11 chairs were established in the name of Indian women scientists across the country. That includes Dr. Asima Chatterjee and Dr. Biba Chaudhary and so on and so forth.
Again, interrupting, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Dr. Momita wants to share something.
Sure, please go ahead.
Momita, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Just wanted to say that I have my success story to share. I
Okay,
got a
please.
job after completing the Women Scientist scheme, and that was after a gap of 10 years, 10 long years.
Wow,
So just
wow.
wanted to add
Congrats.
that.
No, that's really amazing. Where are you working?
I work at Mahila Mahavidyalaya of Banaras in the university.
Oh,
So
great.
yes, I
So,
am teaching girls now, and I try to inculcate within them the
drive and passion.
the strive, yes, to
Yes,
keep on trying and never to give up.
very nice. Amazing. No, that is, but it's very heartening to hear. But I mean, such stories are rare. People get caught up with life, and somewhere get caught up with the system, and the system is not very conducive. You must have faced difficulties also. I'm quite sure. But all is well that ends well. So I think very nice to hear that. Hello, you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
There is
I
some
mean, I just wanted to share a success story just because we were
Very
talking
nice.
all negative
Very nice.
numbers. That's why.
No, yes. No, it's important. Definitely, it
Yeah.
gives hope. Hope is important. Yes, I agree.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Maybe I will get in touch with you. I'll put you on the slide. to share this with next time when I talk about these things.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your name is Momita, right?
Yes, ma'am. Momita Das.
Yeah, I will get in touch with you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, these are eminent women scientists, but from ancient times. So there is a spectrum. You see a botanist, you see a chemist, you see a physicist, mathematician, and so on and so forth. Engineer, meteorologist, and so on. And even when we talk about nowadays, everybody is familiar with this Chandrayaan 3. In ISRO, there is a large number of females who lead the projects, who lead from the front. So that is something which is again a success story and very inspiring for younger people. Uh, Amidst all this negativity, you know. Okay, so these chairs were established, and nowadays even many institutes, they have started some named lecture series. So Bibha Chaudhary, she was a physicist. In her name, there is a very many institutes have started some. They will invite some eminent people, and they have started some lecture series. Because that also gives, and popularizing old names is useful because the younger female students get encouraged, and they feel when it could happen then, why not now the things are much more better, and they just have to be persistent. Okay. Yeah, coming to success stories, I was just coming to that. So of course, one name that I showed you was Seema Chatterjee. She developed several plant-based medicines with anti-malarial, anti-epileptic, anti-cancer properties, and Google Doodle also celebrated her 100th birth anniversary. We all are familiar with this name, Gagandeep Kang. She's a world-renowned virologist for her research on rotavirus, and she played an important role in different positions during the time of the COVID pandemic, right? So this is one other name. This is Tessie Thomas, Director General of Aeronautical Systems. This is Professor Bimla Bhuti. In fact, in that 2019 Hyderabad conference, she was felicitated. It was her 80th birthday, and it was her 85th birthday, and this year she was 90. She has just turned 90. Impressive personality with so much. She was a plasma physicist. She worked with Professor Chandrasekhar of the uh, who is a very famous astrophysicist in those earlier times, and she in fact came from Lahore and so on and so forth. So her journey is also very inspiring. This is Professor Rohini Godbole, a particle physicist, and she was awarded Padma Shri and several awards. She's in various committees and so on, and she has also played an instrumental role in this Women in Science of the Indian Academy of Sciences and this Gender in Physics Working Group and so on and so forth. She has contributed immensely for this cause. Yeah, so I like her statement very much. This is on the Women in Science of the Academy panel. The satisfaction and joy I felt when a prediction one of my young German colleague and I made was found to be true and called by some as the Dries Godbole effect. That was unparalleled. She had worked she's still an emeritus professor at the Center for High Energy Physics in Indian Institute of Sciences. This is the picture of the first Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar awardee, Professor Aditi Sehde. She is a quantum information and quantum computation expert and works at Harish Chandra Research Institute. So she is the first female to get the Physics Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize. This was in 2019. Okay, so now I come to my concluding thoughts. So, of course, I have told you problems, I have told you success stories, I have told you some negative things also, that things don't work and so on. But overall, the problem, there is a recognition of the problem, there are steps to resolve the issues, but there is still a long way to go. There are lots of difficulties that people face, and few people may get lucky, but then the story of the larger masses is not so nice. So in Hyderabad conference, there was a discussion and actually a writing. It all came in writing, and it was a charter was prepared, and it was basically after serious deliberations and discussions during that conference and later on also. Uh, so it basically realizes that there are the fundamental principles are that people of all genders have equal potential to excel in all aspects of physics practice. This is limited to physics, but it is in general true of any sciences discipline. Utilizing the talents of all is essential for the physics enterprise to achieve its full potential. These are the fundamental principles, and then the guiding principles of this charter were gender disparity in physics is due to both patriarchy in wider society and gender bias within the enterprise. Time alone will not achieve gender equality, and therefore conscious action is essential. If time would have healed, then things would have been different. Closing the quantitative gender gap at all levels is necessary to achieve the equality. The culture of physics also needs to transform in order to make all talent free feel welcome, be acknowledged, and be used also. The practice is a social activity, and addressing gender bias requires insights from social sciences. And I think this aspect is very important, because in order to change a system or in order to make somebody more sensitive about things, what we learn from social sciences is very, very crucial. Uh, Interventions and strategies must be such that they do not endorse societal patriarchy. They must adapt to evidence from regular monitoring of the status of the enterprise. When a process of selection reduces to gender fraction from that in the pool, it is a signature of biased process. Institutes must assume immediate and ongoing responsibility to move towards gender equality, and so on and so forth. And then there were recommendations, and that is very well thought of and very well laid. And let me read a few of them, not to take away all the time, but these were also very well drafted, I would say. Work-life balance policies such as childcare leave and mobility schemes should be gender neutral. They should be applicable to all. Why only females? And sometimes, even the the creche is not there in the institution, so that also should be a must in any institution, so that the burden of childbearing doesn't fall only on the female. Criteria for hiring should be formulated beforehand, and no hidden norms or criteria should be used later on. The age bar for hiring should be removed, because women lose a very critical part of their active period in the middle of their career, right in the middle of their career. If they go for childbirth, if they go for marriage, there is a break, and one should not impose that age. One should be flexible with the age given such circumstances, depending on case to case. The hiring process should provide full information on all steps and timeline of hiring to all candidates. Status, position, background of a life partner should not be a criteria in hiring, because this has also happened. If a female applies somewhere, then if they know that the spouse is also in academics, then they say, oh, but so your husband is working there, why would you come to another city? So they will not use that as an excuse informally and not offer the job to a deserving candidate. So that should not come in the way. There should be a wait list, so that likelihood of joining is eliminated as a criteria in selection. Self-declaration of sexual misconduct indictment should be mandatory for staff applications. Institutions should invest in diversity officers as observers on selection, hiring, promotion committees. Policies that facilitate spousal hiring, employment in neighborhood, or transfer should be formulated. Gender sensitization training should be mandatory, especially for senior management directors and deans. Mentoring schemes for young faculty must be available. Childcare facilities should be mandatory and subsidized, preferably. Grievance cells should include at least one external member who is a gender equality expert. Current and potential members of ICCs to undergo training in legal aspects and so on. These are more towards sexual harassment and so on and so forth. But as far as what recommendations can actually make a difference, some of these actually constitute those kind of recommendations. So these are some of those. And yeah, this is for teaching, this is for conferences. This is also something very interesting. All physics conferences are now it is basically told that they should adopt the IUPAP guidelines, basically saying that if you have plenary speakers, it cannot be all male. So nowadays, institutions can be ranked actually on the basis of how much is the participation from female. And there are conscious efforts, at least in some of the conferences that I know of, people from different regions and people from different genders, and good participation of females who are who can also be speaking at those conferences. So that effort is actually good, because that brings visibility, that brings connections, that brings the networking. Because if somebody is working in a standalone institute, it doesn't serve the science, or it doesn't serve the scientific cause that well. Then there are other recommendations to the agencies and so on, related to sexual harassment and so on and so forth. In all of these, yeah, there are also some of the necessary measures. Well, that was the Hyderabad Charter, and we would like to attract girls. So at our level, what is it that one can do? If I come across females, I should encourage them, I should attract them to career in science, and try to help them if we can retain them in science, both as an institution, as an individual. Essential to create means to facilitate negotiation of a science career professionally, maintaining career and family balance. Create awareness, not just among girls and boys, but also parents, family, colleagues at work. Inclusion of women in science is necessary for bringing in more diversity, which always improves the quality of science and technology. Yeah, as Rohini puts it, it is not charity to poor women who are losing out, but rather for the good of science, which is losing out by insufficient or inefficient participation for women. So I think I would like to stop here. So now we can have questions or discussion, whatever you prefer.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts. And it was such a nice presentation. Being a woman, I am really happy.
I really want to congratulate you to present this wonderful presentation. Ma'am, I just want to share, means this is my observation, because I belong to biological sciences.
Okay.
And ma'am, don't you think that this nature of research in sciences, it is not in the sync with the so-called norms of the society? This is so-called norms, like, means I want to just give an example. While doing experiments in laboratory as a student of MSc, so there we used to like set some experiments where we have to take readings in nights also, because there the continuous experiment was there. So most of the girls, they don't want to be a part of that experiment, or means if we have to be a part of that experiment, then we ask our male friends to stay there to take the observations. So and in continuation of this, ma'am, in the field of research, and after completing my research, then at the time of job also, this social norm, they again affect this thing, because the representation of women in central jobs, or especially like in as you said, that the national institution is very less. So I think there also this is the major I would say hurdle. So what is your take on this?
No, definitely. I would agree that it is a societal problem, that how we have grown up, and we have grown up with certain biases which we do not even realize. That is why I mentioned that there were these social workshops. Social scientists were invited to that conference, and for the first time, I actually did something like that, and it was very enlightening. That, first of all, even we as a victim do not realize what we are going through in a given system. Sometimes it is so. First of all, it is also we which who participate in that notion of construct of that social construct. We also participate in that unknowingly sometimes. We do not put our head in it, and we unknowingly are part of that construct. So realizing that, of course, realizing that is not just from our side, it is required from everybody. So we have to educate, we have to first educate, realize ourselves, then whichever way it works, we have to convey this. Especially people who have suffered should convey this to their children, to their parents, to their spouses. Now again, it is a societal thing that you have to be lucky to have a spouse who is understanding, who can
Yes.
accommodate. So women are thought to be, okay, you go for job, you earn money, but you cannot go for night shifts. You cannot. It's not taken to be a nice thing somehow in the society. There are also dangers with that. It is not that there is no reason for having that fear in mind. There are also dangers associated with that. But that is why the society has to play a role to get to a situation where these things are thought to be normal. My job is to do the to collect data for that particular sample, and if it requires even staying in the lab for 2 continuous days, that should be considered normal, right? Otherwise, how am I going to compete with another person who is a male colleague? That person will definitely move far ahead. If every time I will ask for help, I'm not going to proceed the same way, or I will not be able to think freely. And free thinking is very important in research. So being free from ourselves, being free from our ambient atmosphere, it is not that one would like to run away from that atmosphere. And that is also important part of our lives. So having that and having this both, that becomes sometimes challenging. Yes, true.
True, ma'am.
What was your second question? You had
Ma'am,
another question?
that is no, that is in the continuation of this only, that in the jobs also this woman representation is less due to, as you
Oh,
said,
yes.
means we are not victims. Actually, we means we ourselves take it as our responsibility, that it is our responsibility to take care of
Yes.
my kids. So means
Yeah.
no one says that you don't have to, means you are not allowed to go very far to get a job. But it is means like I would not, ma'am, I know many of my friends who don't apply for these government jobs
They will
because
not
they
even
don't want to
consider
go
that as
out.
an
Yes,
option. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Rather feel depressed about being not
Right.
getting anything,
So, in
and
spite
suffer.
of so many government
Yes.
initiatives, also, so this
Yeah. They're
that
not
I
able
feel
to
this.
avail
Yes.
the readiness to take
Yes.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next question is from Nidhi ma'am.
थैंक यू मैम फॉर द वंडरफुल प्रेजेंटेशन। मैम एक छोटा सा ऑब्जर्वेशन है, लाइक अभी आपने फिजिक्स से रिलेटेड जो इश्यूज हैं वुमेन साइंटिस्ट के वो डिस्कस किए। मुझे लगता है ये जितने इश्यूज हैं मोर और लेस ये सभी मतलब ये सारे इश्यूज हम किसी भी फील्ड में चले जाए वहाँ पे हमें इजीली देखने को मिल जाते हैं।
Yes.
और
The
रीजन कहीं
nature
ना
is similar.
हाँ, और रीजन कहीं ना कहीं अगर हम देखें तो बिल्कुल जो बेसिक रीजन निकल के आता है वो पैट्रियार्कियल सोसाइटी के रूल्स हैं जो हमारे इंडियन सोसाइटी में बहुत कॉमनली फैले हुए हैं। एक तरफ जहाँ हम गर्ल एजुकेशन को प्रमोट कर रहे हैं, वहीं दूसरी तरफ हम जहाँ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज की बात आते हैं, वर्बली चाहे हम कह दें लेकिन एक्चुअली में वो सोसाइटी में इतने प्रेवलेंट नहीं है। लाइक वुमेन हैज टू टेक ऑल द हाउस होल्ड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज इन वन और अनदर वे। सो जब तक हम मतलब जो डिस्पैरिटी की बात करें, ये डिस्पैरिटी तो बनी ही रहेगी जब तक हमारा वो पैट्रियार्कियल सोसाइटी का जो कॉमन नॉर्म है वो ब्रेक नहीं होगा। अगर हम
एग्जैक्टली
यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में देखें तो वहां पे मतलब लेबर डिवीजन है कि जितना काम वुमेन को करना उतना मेन को करना वंस दे कम बैक टू द होम फ्रॉम देयर ऑफिसेस, बट इन इंडियन सिनेरियो इट इज नॉट ट्रू, and I
It's
feel
not true.
that's why the women are lacking in these areas. Otherwise they are so good, as you have shown the names कि जो अगर हम 1960s में देखें, 40s में देखें, 1930s में देखें, तो we have seen कि how females were able to achieve a prestigious position in spite of having all hurdles. तो मुझे लगता है कि मतलब मेरा ऑब्जर्वेशन यही है कि ये जो जब तक सोसाइटी की सोच एक पॉजिटिव डायरेक्शन में नहीं होंगी तो ये डिस्पैरिटीज बनी रहेंगी. That's all.
That is true. I would agree with you completely. It is actually, if one would like to solve the problem, one needs people of all gender to appreciate the problem. Then only something can come out. Secondly, societal this social scientific aspect of the problem, unless the society is made aware and is willing to contribute, nothing much can be done. Even if there are policies, people cannot take benefit of those. That is true. And somewhere it just people who have pushed through, who have been persistent, have been successful. This is all about persistence and having the passion. But somewhere down the line, under certain circumstances, certain pressure, people end up giving up. And that is what it also sometimes becomes very difficult. So, yeah, it is a combination of several aspects, several factors. Yeah, Dr. Manish, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead.
For your nice talk, and you elaborated a kind of a topic which is very less discussed in context of Indian scenario. So it was good for listening you, because when we discuss so much thing about this kind of things, we will come out we can think the outside the box. My question is, ma'am, suppose if we have any kind of reservation or like gender disparity, so what we should do if we have thinking like gender disparity or any kind of reservation over the talent?
Can you please rephrase your question? So you are asking.
Manish sir, please mute yourself.
So you are asking, you are saying that if we have two cases, one has more talent, and on the other hand, somebody who is from a gender which is not well represented.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
should one do? Right? Is that your question? So that is what I meant when I initially said that, equality can come with equity. What is equity? Equity tells us that, if somebody is less represented or has certain less number of circumstances, you cannot compare the two at the same platform.
Yes.
What you have to see is that first of all above my filter mark? Yes, if it is above the filter mark, and if there is a small difference, in order to increase the participation, if that effort is done, there is nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, there is another question from Manish Gupta sir.
हेलो मैम.
Hello.
हेलो.
Hello.
मेरा प्रश्न मैम ये है कि आपका एक लंबा अनुभव रहा है इस क्षेत्र में, तो पिछले 7-8 सालों में आपने क्या महसूस किया कि वुमेन्स का रिप्रेजेंटेशन साइंस के फील्ड में बढ़ा है कि घटा है? पहला चीज़. दूसरा, मैं पिछले 17 सालों से टीचिंग कर रहा हूँ. मैं उस टीचिंग के पैशन में ये देख रहा हूँ कि साइंसेस के फील्ड में विमेंस का रिप्रेजेंटेशन पीजी लेवल पर तो बढ़ा है, बॉयज़ का कम हुआ है, लेकिन पीएचडी लेवल में वुमेन्स का और जो मेल सुपरवाइजर हैं उनके बीच में एक डिफरेंसेस आए हुए हैं. आपका इस पर क्या व्यू है?
देखिए, जैसा कि लीडरशिप पोजीशंस की बात है, डेफिनेटली कुछ इवन 7-8 भी नहीं, 2-3-4 साल में there is a difference. There is a visible difference because this number of positions are limited, and we see now here, there. I know these people personally, and they have become directors. I interact with our vice chancellor, and she is a female, so that gives us lot of strength. You know, that automatic. It has become a normal thing to see a director who is an administrator and also a good academician. It has become a normal thing somewhat. As far as colleagues or female colleagues is concerned, or seeing more large or less number of them in institutes, I think that number has not changed as much as it should. Maybe in college jobs, yes, college jobs are good, but not in university and institutions of eminence or higher educational institutes of national importance. I have not seen drastic changes in those. But there are efforts. What those institutes are trying to do is that there is a pressure from these women in science gender group and so on. So whenever they organize a conference or something, they try to have more female participation, or invite more number of females, at least, so that it doesn't look that skewed, and they can do it boldly like earlier times. That is not happening. That has changed somewhat.
उत्तर प्रदेश का मैं थोड़ा सा आंकड़ा आपको दे दूं मैं।
बताइए।
वर्तमान में 17 विश्वविद्यालय, हमारे राज्य विश्वविद्यालय जो एफिलिएटिंग विश्वविद्यालय, उसमें से 5 जो हैं महिला कुलपति हैं।
बहुत ही बढ़िया। तो ये तो ये देखने में अच्छा है।
हमारे विश्वविद्यालय में दूसरा टर्म एक फीमेल वाइस चांसलर मिला। इसके पहले भी वाइस चांसलर फीमेल 23 बार मिला। ये तो काफी इम्प्रूवमेंट है यहाँ पर।
No, this is a drastic. This is a good improvement, I would say. Yes. आपका विश्वविद्यालय कौन सा है?
वीर बहादुर सिंह पूर्वांचल विश्वविद्यालय जौनपुर।
I see. ठीक है। वहाँ पे फीमेल हैं।
फीमेल वाइस चांसलर केमिस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट की हैं। वहाँ इलाहाबाद विश्वविद्यालय की मैम अभी ज्वाइन की हैं लास्ट मंथ में।
अच्छा।
प्रोफेसर वंदना मैम।
I see. बहुत ही बढ़िया।
उसके पहले भी
इवन इलाहाबाद यूनिवर्सिटी की वाइस चांसलर
फीमेल है। वो सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी है मैम। अगर उसको काउंट कर
नहीं, बट इलाहाबाद यूनिवर्सिटी की बहुत बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंस है, मतलब पास से। इट यूज्ड टू बी वन ऑफ द बिग बेस्ट प्लेसेस इन द कंट्री। तो उसकी महिला वाइस चांसलर है अभी। तो ये नंबर लीडरशिप पोजीशंस में रियली इट इज समथिंग व्हिच इज नाइस टू सी। वेलकम चेंज, आई वुड से। एंड
और अभी शायद एक एक्ट भी बन गया है 33% रिजर्वेशन का। आई थिंक इट इज गोइंग टू बी माइलस्टोन्स फॉर द वुमेन्स इन द साइंस एंड इन एवरी फील्ड आल्सो।
आई होप सो। या।
So, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Poonam ma'am, for joining with us and being the part of this CPT program. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure interacting.